Now let's go deeper into the implementation. So now we want to start using into the keyboard section. I will not explain everything. If you want, you can read it and try to understand, but I think it's not that complicated. So the main functions are, for example, get pressed key. So when I'm pressing here a certain key, then we need to distinguish it is a caps lock key, it is a space key, it is a return key, it is a back key, or it's a special character. So this is handling this all cases. And when you are reading this if statement, it's really big, then you will find also checking of certain buttons which are not existing. For example, is copy, but there's not a copy keyboard. This comes from the previous implementation by Florissa. So we just remove them because we don't have so much space for the Raspberry Pi application. So you can ignore or delete it if you want. I just keep it there. Maybe I need it later, and when I have a bigger screen, then I can just add this or enable this copy button. Then we need to check the caps status. So it means caps locks off, on, off, on. This is just the checking here. And then we are also mouse press event. So when you are pressing the mouse, as you have seen, the color is changing. For example, it's gray, now it's blue. So it's pressed. This is just a styling setup. Then this is a helper function to check if a functional key is pressed. For example, when I'm pressing space button, then it need to add a certain space. Or when I'm saying okay back, then it's deleting the space and so on. Then the mouse release event is just also changing the style. So when I'm releasing or pressing, releasing, then it's going back to the original color. The header file is more interesting for you, I guess. So if you want to change the design of the keyboard, for example, here you can set the background color. For example, here I have this light gray color, but when you hover over this HTML code, then you can also click on a certain color you want. For example, here blue, green, red, whatever. Then you can just click in the position you want, and it's automatically setting the code. Let's keep our original color here. So the same for the background color of the buttons if they are pressed. So it's blue and it's going back to gray. Then we have a certain default style sheet. So the border of the buttons. This is a small border, for example. Then the color, background color, radius, font family. We are using Arial. Font size 12 pixels. And here we are setting the functional button style. So it's the light blue one. This is for the space, return, back, and caps. So it's easier to see. And then we are setting here width and height. And other setup is defining new keys. For example, tab. We don't have a certain button here because the keyboard is too small, but we can enable it if you want. Okay, we have also cut and copy. We remove them. Return, we have the return button. Okay, this are macros to reduce the code, so we can easily check if is space buttons pressed or cancel button, whatever you want. That's it for this file. Now the more complicated part is the widget keyboard CPP. So we are here creating our keyboard using this constructor. Therefore, you need to give certain flags. It's embedded keyboard. We are so it's just slightly change of the keyboard style. So then you need to give them the Q widgets. This active form. This is the main frame on which the keyboard will be placed and where the keyboard will have look to Q-line edit objects. For example, when I'm typing T, the keyboard need to know where to put this T into which line. So therefore we need to give him certain parent. Then you can say, okay, I want only a numeric pad, then it's just a numeric pad. And the last one, you need to give him the parent. The parent is this background of this buttons. So this is the frame of the for the buttons. Okay, the next interesting function is how you can create new keys. So you have the create new key and you give them certain key string value. Then you can have a certain design change depending on your preference. For example, for embedded keys, you can set the 16 image dimension or 32. You can say space, and you can set a certain icon size and so on. Here is the most important part, I would say. This is setting the size of each button. So, for example, in the original implementation, it was 54 and 40. I halved the size because I do not have so much space on my Raspberry Pi standard touchscreen. But you can change as you want, so you can also say, okay, I want a even smaller keyboard. Then here we are checking if a certain character is typed, so we need to distinguish which kind of button is pressed. For example, if a return is pressed, then we need to give certain action. Here it's nothing happening because we didn't implement it for this demonstration. For example, when it's back is pressed, then we need to delete some characters. For example, when I'm going back, then it's deleting, and so on. Switching the key. This is an interesting one. Yes, get next text box. For example, you have the keyboard on this frame, on this gray background frame, and the question is, when you press something here, where this character will be typed. So this is the helper function, therefore. So it's identifying which Q-line edit object is currently active, and there will be written the text. So for example, when I'm going to the next one, then the next one is the active one, and the characters are placed there. This is a function, therefore. Then we have a create keyboards function. So this is, for example, so we need some standard setup and creating a new layout, so which is kind of QH box layout. So each button is object of QH box layout, and this is, for example, the first line of our keyboard, this one. Okay, then we are adding this each key, so create new key, and then we are adding them to the main layout. Same for numbers, backspace. Here the second line. Second line is here for numbering from 1 to 9, and then the 0. The 0 is added here. Then you have the backslash, question marks, and so on. Then you have the Q line, the A line, Z line. This is the last line. You can see it's starting with a Z, and ending with a dot. That's also here. Okay. Now we are also inserting this to our main layout, and yeah, we have created our keyboard. Now here we have a certain function to handle the caps lock. For example, when we press the caps lock, when we press the caps lock, then the keyboard style is also changing. So the letters are shown in upper case and otherwise in lower case, and this function is handling this functionality. Okay, this is also helper function to focus on the current line edit, so it's on the first line or on the second line. Let's go now to the main implementation. This is main.cpp. This is a function which you have as standard, so you don't need to change something here. This is your main function. You have queue application object. Then you have certain main window. This is our main window. And you are gonna show that here you are implementing your main functionalities, buttons, whatever you want. So for example, we have a certain connection signal. If the OK button is clicked, then we can have a look here into this function. OK button is clicked, then it's pressing OK qdebug username and password is printed. We can see here, for example, let's say I want it like this and say OK, then I can see in the bash command window username and the password. So just printing for your application, you can process and give it to other function, whatever. When the cancel button is clicked, here it just says okay, cancel button is clicked, nothing happens. What's really interesting for you is how you create the keyboard object. So you say, okay, I want to have a new keyboard, widget keyboard, through this, okay, I want to have an embedded keyboard. The parent is this main window object, and I don't want to have a numeric pad, and the keys are placed on this frame, keyboard frame. We will see how it's implemented. And then yeah, you can take this setup, also the return widget signal, which is also continuously taking the input from the keyboard. And now, so you can take the entire code as it is, and also this function. So here in our UI file, so UI main window.h, we are defining the basically the design of this application. We are starting with some definition, central window. This is our main window. The labels, label 2, label 3, you can name it as you want. The label, the first one is for the title, then username and password. And you can add QLine edit objects to put the username and password. And you can also add some buttons, cancel buttons, menu bar if you want, status bar. It's not that interesting. If you want, you can have a look. The main key is you want to define the size of your window. So in this case, I define a 600 in the width and 480 in height. So it's, I think this is 600 and 480 in y direction. And you can set geometry for your label and some style sheet. This is just boring setup, I would say. Let's go to the interesting part. This is how you set up the keyboard. You have defined a Q frame named keyboard frame. You put it as a child of central window, so as this frame is child of the main frame. This is what this says. Then we are setting certain object name. We are setting the geometry, so the position, x, y, width and height. So the position here, the left corner here is X, Y position. So X is going in this direction, Y in this direction. And then the width is here 520 pixels and the height is 180 pixels. You can change the position as you want. Then you can set the background color. I have set this, yeah, light gray or dark gray color. And that's it. So this are standard setup for Qt applications. Yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you liked the video, and don't forget to subscribe and give us thumbs up. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments, and see you in the next video.